Ichukua, my friend, I never even went for 500 meters. I gave in, nikashidwa. So that is where the battle was won. And I accepted. But even up to today, nishigo upande. So, rather what I'm trying to say is this. We are talking of a soul that was sold out. What am I talking about? A soul that was sold out. Giving out, giving all. That's what our Christ did. And there's a challenge we have for each one of us. We give out all. God bless you. Sorry, I think I've taken too long, but bear with me.
Thank you very much, Uncle Chris. Uncle Chris, for those who never saw Dad, if you've seen, that is how close they were. So even when Eric is saying the way I look older than him, brother. Uncle said Dad used to keep his nails very short and clean. You can see following in the footsteps, unlike Eric, who took the bad side. I took the good ones, okay? So next, I'll have a session for the people who grew up with him. Other than Uncle Chris, who was the elder brother, there are his brothers who grew up with him. So I'll ask Ken to come and speak something about what it was like to go play around with Uncle Charles.
You need this? You can hear me? You can hear me? Okay, good. It's very humbling for me to stand here. All the people I've admired in this world and the people I try to emulate are here. So I really do not know words to say. There's a big table here with very eminent gentlemen that I have looked up to for a very long time. And there are a lot of very strong women, but we are here to talk about Charles. I'll talk about Charles in regard to my life and also possibly the part maybe we'll see how this goes. I grew up with Charles. Technically, Charles was my uncle. But the way life worked out was he was an elder brother, kind of, because we went to the same schools. What has not been said is been said that he was cheeky, but people forgot it came from there. So the cheekiness was not out of, the guy was very clever, so he went to Mangu and he set the bar very high. Some of us were unable to meet that, but what we are here to talk about is love. We are here because of love, and love in two ways. Charles loved God, and God loved him, and Charles was very loving. But because I'm talking to parents, I see most of you are young parents, some of you are you said grandfather, and many more. I was that kind of kid. I was not very, when I tell my daughters, I don't tell them that I used to be always number one. Charles was number one. I was floating somewhere in between there, but I was also very restless. I was very restless. So for you who have children who are restless, and who are always asking questions, please bear with them. They're asking to know. So we went through school. Charles got a job in a bank. Mama Martin can tell you I was a problematic kid. And quite problematic because I would ask a lot of questions. Some of them which are life and she could not quickly answer. But there was Charles who was able to answer. So after I did off with my school, Charles then was working in Ongata Rongai in KCB. He was in business. So I went and stayed with him. We tried some business and it was fairly successful, but we also got conned. Charles was not very interested, but I was quite angry and wanting to recover that money. Anyway, he prevailed because he was the one who had invested, and life went on. Then came this time. They mentioned that we were brought up by a coterie of women. So there came this time that we had to go back. You know, those days were not like today. In Othaya, we had some problematic neighbor who kind of kept on encroaching the land. And it was decided that the boundaries should be demarcated so that this thing gets sorted. There was Uncle Chris, he was quite far, and as always, he's a piece. So there was me, and there was also the diplomat Charles. You know, neighbors, you can't make noise with them too much. You need to also make sure that you maintain some peace. So we were selected to go and oversee the demarcation of the boundary. I remember I went in for war, and Charles was to mitigate my stupid actions. And we did the demarcation, and it was, yes, the land had been encroached, and anyway, I was you thief, and you know, tough words. Anyway, we demarcated the land, and we came back home. We took late lunch, and we were supposed to come back to Nairobi. Since we were in the same spot, we were supposed to come back together, but it didn't happen. Charles kind of said he was in a hurry. My anger still had not subsided because I was spoiling for war, you know, and 18, 19 there. So anyway. So Charles was requested to take some beans by Shosho. But he said, I'm coming back next week. I'll come back soon. I'll take the beans. So he opted to leave Othaya. He went to Nyeri to be able to come to Nairobi. I stayed a bit. I don't know. Mama Martin, did I bring you the beans? Anyway, I was given those things you always get when you go Geshagi, and I was still looking for trouble, so I stayed behind. And there was no trouble. I didn't have the fight I was priming for. Came back to Nairobi. There were no mobile phones then. The next day, that's when I learned Charles had passed away in an accident which we were supposed to be together. So Charles, we started with a simple word, love. Charles was an all-in guy. He was, even it was sports, he was in. When he got saved, he became an all-in guy. Mama Martin was living in Pumwani, and Charles would come and discuss overnight, you know, not Kesha. You see it, and there was a guy called Mwenje, I think he passed on. They would come and talk the whole night about God and the Word, and so Charles was an all-in guy. And although the employer is not here, if the employer had to say about him, he would say, Charles, he was working in the bank, but he was a very bad employee. Not because he was not diligent, but he was just too generous. Brothers would come with issues, and he was near money, and he would pass, and he would be left to struggle with his balances and negatives. So when Charles died, I was very angry with God. And I also ask you, God is not afraid of your emotions. If you are angry, ask those questions. I was angry with God, and I was very angry, and I asked him a lot of questions, and tough questions. And luckily, God didn't answer me then. But now looking back 25 years after, you can see that We serve a living God. A God who, so he died, and he left a very, very young family with no recourse. Those women did not have anything apart from God. And through it all, God provided. And our mothers grew up, Charles and everybody else, and we also grew up. Then later, here comes Charles, 2.5 years into marriage, 3 years, he goes away. You know, I was quite angry with God. I was quite angry, but now looking back 25 years, God has been there. When God says his goodness will last several generations, Auntie Monica, and even every one of you, if you do not believe in God, personally I've seen God part Red Seas for me. He's provided. When you read that Samson, you know, it's a bit awkward to quote the Bible before pastors and people who preached and people who baptized me and all of that. But when you read that Samson slew 2,000 people with a jawbone, in today's world, God has blessed, you know. Auntie Monica is a hustler. She knows how to hustle. Not the political one, eh? Yeah, she knows how to. She's been at work. She's had side hustles all along. And God has blessed whatever small that she was doing to enable us to be here. This is not the doing of man. Where you're seated, there are many families that have had 2 parents, but they've not been as Charles did, and love your neighbor as Charles did. And when we believe God, no matter what we go through, we may not understand then, but the end result ends up being good. So, guys, keep it in there, no matter the circumstance. God will be able, God is capable of understanding and handling your emotions. If the emotion is joy like today, express it. And if it is anger, question him. He will address you and he will answer you. He has answered my anger, my anguish then, and it can be seen that he's been a good God. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ken. And thank you also for honoring the invite. Ken came all the way from Rwanda to be here with us. So thank you, Ken, for being here with us. When you go back, please say hi to my friend, President Paul Kagame. Let him know that I'll pick his call maybe tomorrow. I'm a bit busy today. Yes. From what Ken has said, how many of us can remember 2 attributes about Charles? Yes, Auntie? Yes. 2 attributes about Charles. Just something that from what Ken has said.
There's one thing he said about being very friendly and giving. And having worked in the bank, I remember he had problems for brothers going to the bank and he gives them money and he was almost getting sacked. And because I was also in the bank, I had to step in, and instead of him being sacked, he was transferred to Chuka branch.
Thank you. People are confirming. Any other attribute that somebody has mentioned that would... Yes. Thank you very much. That was one I was looking for. Clever. Eric, just come. You know, let me tell you these things. Listen in class. Okay? Ken said Dad was clever. Is that correct? That's right. Now, from all the things people have been saying, from what people have been saying, I've been calculating. I'm saying this one went to Eric, this one went to Timothy, this one went to Eric, this one went to Eric. But that one I am 100% sure it was split half-half. So both of us got that one from Daddy. Just so you know, we went to Alliance. Yeah, it was. You are not saying. It was just a by the way. Thank you, Eric. Yes. So that cleverness tick, hiyo tuko sure tulipata. Asante. Sindio? Thank you very much. Now I'd want us to watch. I don't know whether the video is ready. If it's ready, we can watch a short clip. So I'll request the people that are sitting on this side to maybe move a little bit so that we are able to see the screen on this side. We just watch a short video, and then from there, I'll welcome Dad's friends to talk about Dad as a friend. As we set up the video, I made it through, and I don't know how I did it. I made it through, and I don't know how I did it. But one thing I know, Jehovah took it over. I made it through. Can you sing that again? I made it through, and I don't know how I did it. I made it through, and I don't know how I did it. But one thing I know, Jehovah took it over. That is how I made it through. I made it through. And we don't know how we did it. We made it through, and we don't know how we did it. But one thing we know, Jehovah took it over. That is how we made it through. Thank you. Okay, I think it's still a bit too early because of the light, so we might not be able to see it as clearly. So we'll hold that off for a little bit, and then we will go back to the video later. So now, we have heard from family, the people who grew up with Dad and how it was growing up with Dad. And as I had mentioned, it then moved now after you have left home and you have friends and you're looking for friends who you can do life with together. And he was fortunate enough to have very many friends. I think Dad was a friend to everyone. Those people who had friends everywhere. But just a few of them will be able to speak. And at this juncture, I'd like to call Brother Kirigia and Sister Kirigia to say something about Dad as a friend at that time.
Thank you, son. God bless you. It's very difficult to talk about Charles. But the way Sister said here, Sister Ndirangu and Gakuru, actually Charles was not only intelligent, he was actually a real genius. He was a real genius. He loved literature, poetry, and mathematics. I know, and he had a very his handwriting, because he liked reading. Most of the time he used to read messages, Shakespeare, William Shakespeare, Chinua Achebe. So, and messages, listen to the message. He really loved God. And I've never seen somebody who is, he was very social. He had a very hearty laugh. You could laugh. I mean, Charles was a real, he could touch your heart. He was a he was really gifted personality. I remember he really and very fond, very soft art for for the family, for the children, the aunties, the nephews. And really, he was a real good friend. I remember one day we were when he was living in working in Chuka. Those days to work in a bank was not easy. You have to be very intelligent and the cream of society. You know, banking. That was a real bank at that time. To be a bank at that time was not easy. You could find a banker, one banker in one location. You can count them. So Charles was a shrewd, very hard-working banker. In our area in Egoji, from Egoji to Chuka is about 30 minutes. My father was a member of the KCB. So he left going to Mayo Town or Nkobo, where there was a KCB, and he started coming to Chuka. That time to be served by the bank, you have to queue for 3-4 hours. It was terrible. There was you used to queue, but Charles knew my father. They were very good friends, so my father could go and queue. And the Charles would come and they said, "Mzee, come." You would jump the queue and give him money and really treated him as a king. Really, Charles touched our family. Not only me as a friend, but the entire Kirigia family. He was a true friend. And everybody in our family knew Charles, Monica, Eric, and Timo. They say these are part of my family. We are very proud of, we are very, very happy for the Kihungu's family. I remember one time when in 1993, my wife here and Monica were living in Kemadi. And at that time we were traveling, we were visiting to go and eat chapati there. And as and then one day we made a mistake. We overstayed, and so when we overstayed, then the monkey was also living there. And then when we left around 11, was it 11 or so? Immediately we left. I was a very fast driver, so we used outering. So I drove very fast, very, very fast. At the roundabout, at Kariobangi, we were short at. Actually, we were supposed to go home that time. But Charles, when they started following us, the gangsters, from Buruburu going down. Charles was looking. He said, "Kerigia, you Frank, go, run, accelerate. They are coming." And we could hear shots. They were shooting at us. So I don't know how I accelerated. By the time I reached the roundabout, I think I flew. And then because of the dust, the car raised a lot of dust, and those fellows, I think they rode, and then we disappeared. So I thank God that we survived that assassination, because if we never survived, I could not talk of Alec and Timo. We thank God. That was a real miracle. Another incident is the other attribute of Charles, he was very, 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 very kind. Always smiling. You could give and give actually from his heart. The way my sister said is true. He gave. You could not have any problem with Charles. I mean, if my relationship with Charles, I never quarreled with him. We have never differed. I mean, and I am a very difficult person. I've never picked a bone with the Charles. We were good friends. He was a real friend. And we were together. We really agreed almost in everything. So we went to the Charles there in Isiala. And when we are remembering the good works of Charles, we are commemorating, and those good works we are remembering, and it's following us. Then another important thing is I remember that time when Charles was to travel to Ovaya, the last day. I went on in KCB where he was working in Nairobi, Moi Avenue, on Thursday afternoon. I went to see him. And Charles he told me, Kerikia, tomorrow, my mom and Maito, they have summoned me. I'm going to do it to go on by Friday, to meet on Friday. So Charles went on Friday, and then on Thursday he was telling me, now we are agreed. Immediately you complete the work, please come in scooter. There, just it's not far. My in-laws there, and then we travel together. So we traveled. So that's the last time I talked with them was on Thursday. We had a discussion and we agreed. But then after the function, after the funeral, we waited for Charles. He was not coming. That time there was no mobile. We don't know what to do. Maybe Charles went. So we stayed until we delayed our going back to Nairobi, because we were waiting for Charles. But we said, Charles, now it's becoming late, let us go. Maybe Charles went. So we started going back after the funeral in Nyeri. And then at Kakusi, near Kakusi there after Kabati, that hill, we found that is the time when they had serious, there was accident. There was a stationary lorry, and then gave him. This is his court. No. So what do we do? So we said go to his pocket, take the wallet, and confirm with Charles. That's what we did, and then it was Charles. So, but at that time, the most striking thing is that we took him. The important is that Charles was completely calm. He was smiling, and that smiling face, that photo, he was not red. He was. I mean, the way we saw him, we just took him, we put in my vehicle, and we drove to the nearest hospital. And the nearest hospital was the Thika, at Thika. That was the longest journey. I was saying Thika is just near. But I saw as if I was driving to Mombasa. And I'm my first driver. So, but the most important thing is Charles was, you could see Charles. He was not dead. He was just smiling. He was so happy. And he was so happy. That's the best I have ever seen Charles. He was full of glory. So, now the issue is, what made Charles that way? So glorious. His face was shining. Charles went to the road. He is in the orphanage. I know even when we used to visit, because most of the time we were together, I go to Zimmerman to see them. Could they escort me? And Timo was a small baby. And then when they escort me, I remember we go down, they were living on a first floor. Second or first? First floor, yeah, first floor. Then when they escort me, the father and the mom, when they see them coming, me, I will go with Eric. We go down, and the Timo. And then Eric would say, Nyinyi rudini nyumbani. Nyinyi rudini. So we have been good friends, and these are buddies. We really appreciate it. And may God bless you very much, Monica, the way you have brought up these children. And God has been there for you and for the children. We thank God for you, and we'll continue holding you together and staying together. I know some of you people who know Charles. Like Charles introduced me to a lady here called every time I'm talking to her, to Charles, he say, "Hey, do you know Pauline? That's Pauline." He was very fond of Sister Pauline. He introduced me to friends like Pauline. He loved all of you people. Sister Moyori, Professor here, Professor Mwangi, my friend here, Professor Mwangi, I call him. We really love you. But so may God bless you very much. It's very handy to talk about Charles because he was a real buddy and a friend. But may God bless you very much. This to me is actually is part of my family. And I know all of you people, Monica from the family, the Nyere, mom, they have become friends because of Charles. I knew Charles before I knew my wife and Monica. And we used to say, you people, if there is any difference, don't bring your difference to us, because we knew we were friends before we met you, before we met you. So Sister Toboa, God bless you. Thank you, son. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Daddy. Thank you. I don't think there's anyone else who are given a better account of Dad like Brother Kirigia. Yeah. So for the young ladies who are here and young men, umesikia, they almost got assassinated waiting for chapatis. Yeah? And somebody smiles at you and tells you they want to marry you tomorrow. No. Let them try to get.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, we were debating in the house because I told him not to say some things, but he has decided to say them. I don't know why he remembered that Kapatwa. Okay, for me, I think I'll set the record straight, but we are not in it's a happy moment. Huh? Mine is written to avoid getting confused. So whenever you take a mic, you get confused. I don't know. You find that you forget everything that you had. It's an honor. Maito. Gaine mwega. Na hede ciothe. Ndenda kwaria hanini uhoro wa Charles. Hanini na Gikuyu na Githungu no ni ugutaurirwo. Thank you so much. I think like Monica, like we have all seen, is 25 years. We have not had a chance to celebrate all those other years. Even if we go to Nyeri and we have done so many things. So my tribute is in twofold. It is a Thanksgiving and also a poem. Like Franklin said, Kihungu loved James Hadrich's. He was very good. He was a mathematician and he was also a literature person. It was so amazing because he had those two attributes, but he was a very good guy. Yeah? So mine, I'll lead because there are 5 points. Yeah? Each point is carrying 5 years, so you'll allow me to read. It's just a short brief of each year of how things unfolded. Yeah? Part 1 is a background. I was told by Timothy to give a background of Dad. Yeah? There's something Franklin has said, but I think in the reverse it will be different. About knowing Kihungu, but I think that's fine. For you who don't know, I come from Scooter. That place he was talking about is Scooter is my home. I come from Scooter, Nyeri. And that particular day we were burying my nephew, who had also died in a kind of an accident. And we had agreed with Dad that we are coming back with Kihungu after he finishes what Ken was talking about, subdivision. And we had reserved a seat. And nobody was supposed to sit there because Kihungu was supposed to come back with us. We were at home. But as he said, there was no way to communicate, so we didn't know where he disappeared to. When time moved, now we decided, I think we go. So my brother pleaded and said, give me that seat, I want to go to Nairobi. So he said, but this seat was meant for Kihungu, it was not meant for. But God knew, because that's how we found Kihungu in the accident. And the two gentlemen, my brother, the one we gave the seat for Kihungu, and our nephew, Brother Noah Kariuki. For you who don't know, I'm a relative of the Megwis. So we are kind of in-laws, although we are friends. So they helped us a lot when we found, when Franklin was refusing to stop, because he had refused to stop and moved and said, don't talk about my friend, he cannot be here. I think he loved him so much, he cannot be in that accident. So we kind of forced him with Monica to go back, and unfortunately, when we stood there, we were talking and we were not seeing Kihungu. You remember? And the guys who were carrying the truck had the goats. And this pujo, you remember the pujos that they used to say? It's either you reach Nyeri or heaven. You know that's what they were called, because they used to be very fast. Either Nyeri Kanamatui. That is pujo that Kihungu Ross is live in, but it was of a friend. I think when he went, Ken, when he missed, the way we were told by the people we found in the hospital, they were given a lift. You know, yes. Yes. But that was also a friend, he was also a banker, the guy who died, because there was a guy who had died, the driver had died, we left him there. When we took our brother, the driver had died. But we were told when we reached in Thika Hospital that this man was a friend of that driver. The way they were talking, they looked like they were friends. So then the pujo took our friend home, like they say, let me lead, Dionisuabo. Part one is the background. I came to know Kihungu way back in 1989, way back before Monica and Franklin came on the scene. But yes, no explanations, but that was way back in our... Yeah, Mama Martin knows that, Mama Martin knows that, those cases of talking about the word. In Pumwani, I was sometimes one of them. But that was way back in 1989, before Monica and Franklin came on the scene, in our home church, Nyeri Church, that is Gaduri's church. So we come from the same place. That's when I heard about Kihungu. I knew Kihungu, and even much later at Mama Martin's place. Kihungu loved God. That's 5 years ago. Kihungu loved God and the message of the hour with such zeal that you could not fail to notice. Like many of you have said, even the pastor has said, a man with no guile. That was Kihungu, the man we are talking about. And sorry, Mwangi, Professor, I hope I'm not covering you. A man with no guile, a happy soul, a Christian who would collect a friend with love. That is the Kihungu we are talking about today. And I think many can attest to that. My third 5 years. Come early 1993, in our small abode with Monica in Park Road. We used to live in a small house in Park Road with Monica. And there appeared from nowhere two bold brothers, bold, they were very bold, with a clear vision and mission. And the rest is history, as they say. I think at this point I would beg to be allowed, because some people who a declaration was made, and the declaration is in quote, no more chapatis for you brothers. And that is for brothers. Our house, they used to live at midnight. I used to chase them when we were girls. That is true. Monica knows. Because of chapatis. That was a very big problem. But because we were very organized girls, we were very organized. We used to order our food from Unilever. We used to buy our food budget, so the brothers just used to come and feed on chapatis continuously, and the chapatis were good. So the chapatis now belong to why? Why did he say that? For those who have understood, it's like wamezubaa tu hawasemi ki. You know we were girls. I'm quoting exactly what Charles said. You know, they are good girls here. Lakini umezubaa. So, they have put ha ha ha. They were not amused, so I apologize, but that is part of Kihungu's life. They were not amused, but they were friends. They are still friends, yeah? We got married to 2 brothers and lived in one house in Kemali Estate for 3 months together. Because as you heard, when Kihungu brothers, the good love for brothers in the bank, messed him up. Instead of the bank sacking him, they transferred him to Shuka. That's how he went to Shuka, which was good because they didn't sack him. So he went away a bit, but there were also brothers, and our father-in-law was there, but there were not many brothers in Shuka. So they took him to Chuka. So we stayed in one house for 3 months. Hata kama dadi amesema hiyo kakapati kengine, you can see 2 women from different places married and kept in one house. So it was good. You see, we were good. Clap for us. Yeah. Today they can't stay even 1.5. Eh? Okay, early enough, the birth of the 2 boys happened in quick succession. That was Eric and Timothy. My involvement with them began as early as when they were below 2 years. Our bond was and is still tight, and nobody can ever break it. Yeah, nobody can ever break it. I can see some people looking at me, but it cannot be broken. It's God made, it's God given, like what Daddy said. Ndirangu would tell, his own used to say, Nyinyi rudini huko, rudini. You know, they are telling the mother and the father to go back because Ndirangu want to go with us. So, and Timothy will just follow because Timothy has always followed. Although, but now things seem to be changing. He's reading the firstborn, but usikubali. So, our board began, in our board was and is still tight, and nobody can ever break. Normally our lunch with the boys, it takes minimum 5 hours. Somebody has been asking, somebody somewhere looking at me, kwani mnakula hii lunch masaa mangapi? Mnaanza lunch saa 8, 8 o'clock mnakula lunch. Yes, that's how our lunch takes. It takes less 5 hours with the boys. You can imagine. The boys would cry to go with me to my house. And we would sleep 4 of us in one bed. And in the middle of the night, unasikia poop. What has happened? They have fallen from our bed, which was not structured for babies. I ingeniously resorted to lay them on the floor with a mattress. And that is only after they are dead asleep. Because they would not accept such a thing if they are awake. They could not want to sleep away from us. That is what used to happen, you guys, but it was a good thing. Today, like they said, the overactive, the hyper boys, grown-up men, they are councils now. They are not just boys. They are councils. That is Eric Kihungu and Timothy Kihungu of Eric and Timothy Kihungu Advocates. Clap for them. The boys used to fall in night. There they are. You can stand. I think this is an honor that we have. The small 2 boys now today, they are advocates. And we can only thank God for that. And we shall continue to thank God for that, Monica. And you see, I think walikufinyilia. Walisema tu intelligence imetoka udhaya. I beg to differ. Yes, this thing also came from Deya, where we used to thresh beans. But actually, Kihungu was a genius. That one we are not disputing. But I think, like they say, when you meet, you compliment each other. He also got a lady who is able to put things together, and that's why you are the way you are. Because the Dodus also contributed that bit of mipango, biashara, na kadhalika. Congratulations. Not many would be where you are without... So, hallelujah. I'm sure Kihungu is happy wherever he is. Like Pastor said, he must be looking at us. It's an honor, and all honor and glory return to God. Amen. My last point. Every home is an honorable legacy. You saw that house? And like Pastor said, I would echo the same. Kihungu was a very organized person, ambitious. Before we got married, before he married your mom, he had bought this land, and he had begun a house with an architect, but I think the architect did not do the calculations right, because the house reached the lintel. You know the lintel. And you know when you are there, it's unfortunate because the rain is going to mess up that house. So Kihungu was very ambitious. Before the wedding, he had bought this land and he had begun this house. I think many of you don't know that. Franklin, you remember that. I think even Mwangi remembers that, because we came and tried to salvage the house. And we got into a conflict with believers because some brothers were saying, me, I was harassed. And I think, Monica, you should thank me for this. Because the brothers came and said, this is a bush. We cannot allow Monica at her age to live here. So we are going to sell this thing. We were there with Pastor, Brother Megwe, Brother Kaholo, Brother Sherman there. These are neighbors. They were here before, the Moitas. And the brothers said, we are not leaving Monica in this bush. So we need to sell this thing and go and get rid of thing. But I told them, it's because you brought people who are not caught the vision. Because my vision was, let's finish this house for Monica and the boy.